It's day 3 of spring, and we have a lovely looking day. Look at this glorious weather. Hello again, I am Jim Bob, and welcome back to Deutz Fahrm here on Grala. So, I've done a little bit of tidying up. You'll remember I actually parked this trailer here with all the pallets on, and the plan was to kind of, until, I decided what I was going to do, I was just going to leave everything on this and then just drive up and access, the seed and the fertilizer direct from this trailer. That worked in theory until I reloaded into the file today to start recording this episode, and all of the pallets just went everywhere. Some jumped off the trailer and landed at weird angles. Some came off partially but were still strapped down. The others were all messed up all over the place. It was a bit of a shit show, unfortunately. So I've done a bit of tidying up instead. So let me show you what I have done. If we pop into here, this is where we kept the seeders. I think. Come on, open up. There we go. Yes, so what I've done now is I've stacked our pallets here in the middle between our two seeders. So we can drive in, we can connect up to a seeder, we can fill up instantly just by right-clicking the stick, or clicking the left stick, and then pull out completely loaded with seed. On top of that as well, I have done something similar with fertilizers. So in here, you can see I've got all the fertilizer pallets stacked up here in this corner. I've moved the axis sprayer to here and kept a separate bay for the weeder here, which means that the cultivator and plough have now been moved. And they have taken space... Where did I put those? I think I put them in here, actually. Yes, there we go. So the plough and the cultivator now live in this part of the shed here. And obviously the seeders that used to be in here are no longer in here, which is good actually, because I did want to keep this space for something in the future. So there we go. That's the changes that we've made around here, just to kind of tidy the yard up a little bit. We are using, as I say, pallets for the first year, and then maybe we'll continue to do that going forward. Maybe we'll put a placeable down to top up, with seed and fertilizer for year 2. So what's the plan for today? Well, the plan is to start doing some creative work over here. So this grass field here needs to be ploughed out and joined up with 61 and 62 and turned into one single field here. And this also needs to be ploughed out. This grass field here, 69, needs to be ploughed and joined into 68. That's kind of the plan. We're way off being able to seed yet. As you can see, the ground temperature is A, only 5 degrees, and B, the planting window for soybeans doesn't open up till day 7. So we're a long way off being able to actually put that seed into the ground yet. But there's nothing wrong with getting the ground prepped and ready first. So we're going to create some extra fields and do some more ploughing today. And then if we get a bit of time, we'll probably do a little bit of fertilizing as well. If not, then the fertilizing can wait till day 4. So once again, we're going to need our Fortis. It is the more powerful of the two tractors, so it's a little bit better designed for the ploughing. I would like to use the Agro Star, but at 140 horsepower, it is a little bit underpowered for a 200 horsepower plough. But we will use that for our fertilizing when we get to that point. So let's close our sheds up. There we go. And where shall we start? Do we start on this side? I think we'll start on this side. This is quite a big field, as you can see. So as always, I'm going to do the usual of doing a border around the edge of the field first, so that I can make sure that A, we have clearly defined lines as to where the existing field is, and B, we can check to see if we're going to have any bits of crop sticking through that we then need to get rid of. Just make things a little bit easier when it comes to actually joining everything together and seeing how to resculpt the field. So there we go. And I need to do the same here as well. It's quite tight here actually, right up against this fence. So we do need to be careful when we're seeding along here. And also with harvesting, I mean, it's not too bad. I mean, there's a little bit of gap, but if we're not careful, we could end up catching our machinery on the side here. You can see it actually gets even tighter to the fence just along here. Like so. There we go. And we are running a 9-day season, so we are going to run out of jobs quite quickly, but we are going to be doing quite a bit of contract work to kind of help out other farmers as we progress through. So we'll be doing some ploughing and seeding and fertilizing and cultivating and maybe, possibly even harvesting throughout the year on the other fields to try and, you know, earn a bit of extra cash, and more importantly to boost our reputation with those farmers, so when we come to expand our own land, then we'll be in a really good position to do that. And one thing I am actually considering doing is, in terms of finances, we have 105,000 euro debt. It was initially 100,000. I had to take out an extra 5,000 because I bought a few extra pallets when I was stacking those in there, just to tidy everything up and make sure we had a decent stock for the year. So we've got plenty of cash to play about with loan-wise, but we can't go too crazy because we don't have a lot of equipment to or a lot of expensive equipment to kind of chip in to our farm valuation. We don't have a combine, so we're already sort of 200,000, down on a potential valuation of our equipment by not having a combine with header and trailer and so on and so forth. That said, we did upgrade some of our other equipment, so we do have quite an expensive baler, for example, and we do have obviously bigger cultivator, bigger plough, so more seeders as well. Not just one seeder, but 2 seeders. They're both larger, working capacity, etc., etc. So I suppose it kind of balances a little bit, but I think overall, in terms of equipment, we are down on the valuation of our previous kind of setup on Altenstein. And we have a decent number of fields, but some of them are pretty small and pretty cheap, so it's not going to give us a huge increase to our valuation. So I don't know how much we could possibly take out as a maximum, and I don't want to overdo it. We need to make sure that we have some money kept in reserve, so that when it comes to harvest time, we can actually afford to lease a harvester. But we might end up potentially just going out and buying some additional fields once we've done some work on them as well. That is definitely something to consider. What we could actually look at as well, I suppose, is we could look at maybe not planting soybean and corn on these fields, but maybe we could plant something else. Maybe we could do some sunflowers on one of these fields, do some canola and some other crops that are going to be in a much better planting window for us, and then from there we could buy some fields in the future, which would then give us the opportunity to then plant soybean on those fields. So that's something we could do. But while we ponder that, let's start joining these fields together and creating our kind of new shape to this field over here. So I'm going to run along here, try and stay in a straight line where I can. Zoom out a little bit so I can keep progress. And someone has told me that those small little grey bushes that you see, I say grey bushes, there's no foliage on them at the moment, so they're just kind of dead wood. But those little bushes that we saw around the edges of fields, that we can actually remove those with the chainsaw. I haven't tried that yet, so we'll give that a go a little bit later on as well, see if that works. But right now, like I say, I want to define this field. a little bit too close just there, and we're not quite close enough over here, so I think we can perhaps get a little bit closer to the edge. If we do that, we'll probably have to get another roller and tidy up the edge again. But I want to try and get a little bit closer to the road. I need to be careful going around there if we're going to be creating sort of an area around the edge of that post where we aren't going to be planting. Have a little island of grass, for example. And this is going to take us a while to kind of plough out this whole field. So we've got to plough out all of this grass over here. And you know what? I am going to go and lease another roller. So let's head over to the store. We'll grab that and then we'll come back and we can use that to kind of just tidy up our work around the edges of these fields a little bit. So let's grab the roller and then we'll be back on the field in just a second. Okay, so I've tidied up that first area here, but what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to create these small little grass areas around the base of these poles. So that we don't accidentally plant too close to them. Just try and take little bits of those out a bit, and also make them feel a little bit more sort of organic, I suppose, so that they're not just completely sterile circles. There we go, that's not too bad. Let's do the same with this one over here. I figure once these are in place, we'll have a good sort of working point to avoid. So we're a little okay in some of those places, but obviously this is way too stretched away. So now we can start to trim that back a little bit. And like I said, I want them to be, you know, feeling a little bit more sort of random. I don't want them to be perfect circled areas. That's not too bad. Decent kind of spacing around there. Need to do the same over here. Although what I'll probably do with this is just rip the area out. Actually, let's do that test while we're here as well. I've heard that we can chainsaw these. I don't see how, personally. There's nothing for the chainsaw to actually attack or get into. I know that some modders like to use kind of like trees and plant them underneath the map, so that they poke through, the very top parts of the tree poke through, and that's what gives the illusion of a bush when it's actually a tree. But yeah, I don't see. Maybe a stump grinder would work. I don't think so. But yeah, there's nothing there for the chainsaw to latch onto. So to be honest, I'm not sure I want to get rid of those anyway. But at least we've kind of tested it to see whether or not we can do it, and if it is possible. It certainly doesn't look easy. Alright, so let's get up towards the trees, but not right up against the trees. Again, we want to have that little bit of a border. so. Okay, so we've got a nice kind of defined field edge over there. We're kind of okay over there, although I do feel that looks a little bit silly. Let's... yeah, that looks a little bit better. I'll probably smooth out the edge on that a little bit more as well, actually, with the roller once I'm done. Any other areas that we need to kind of prep for? I think that's pretty much it. I need to make the joint over here. And that's going to be a nice, quick and easy job. Get lined up. Straight through, there we go. Do this little section in the middle. There we go. And going back down the other way. And there we go, we have a field border to work from. The other thing I want to check is this edge along here. I want to make sure that this is a reasonably smooth edge. We can possibly take it closer to those rocks as well, maybe take it out a little bit further. So I want to kind of take a look at the possibility of doing that. So the easiest way to do that is to kind of just drive along here. You can see we've got that rock that sticks out, and I don't want to get too close to it, but I do want to get closer. So I think that here. Oh, that's a touch too close. Might have to trim that slightly with the roller. But there we go, that's pretty much spot on. So let's extend this along here. Just trying to see beneath the tree cover. Get to the edge. There we go. And now we can go back and do the same the other way. In fact, did we step in a bit? Yeah, we did, didn't we? Had a feeling I might have done. It was obviously where we had the break-in cover. Yeah, there we go. So hard to see through that foliage. Just stepped in again, look. There we go. That's pretty good. So now we'll go along and we'll do the same along this far edge. Along here. We'll extend it out that way. Let's get lined up. I think this is the furrow I need to follow. It is. Excellent. Trying to be really careful. I don't want to step out too far again, but as long as I stay in a straight line along here, I should be good. The only trouble is I keep going beneath the tree canopy and I can't actually see what I'm doing. Maybe this will be the way to do it. Like this, and then I can also check to make sure we are still ploughing as well. Did we go... Have we stepped in right at the beginning? No, no, we're good. Okay, I was just checking. So it might not seem like much, just adding an extra furrow, but, you know, along a long stretch like this, it can make, you know, a bit of a difference. It can be, depending on the crop that we plant, you know, several hundred extra litres. And when, you know, we're not getting much income per year, then it all kind of helps. It all adds up. It becomes a little bit more important. So it's along here that we can now kind of, a little bit too close to that tree. We can come a little bit further this way. Alright, so I've got my kind of defined boundary now, so it's time for me to start running up and down the field and ploughing out the rest of this ground. And once this is done, we'll then move on to the next field and we'll get that ploughed as well. So I will see you in a little while. About halfway through the field, we've done the longest stretch. Now we're up against the remaining sort of cross section here, so we're kind of filling in the last of that grass section, making sure we don't get too close to those poles in the area that we've designated. Also got to be careful around this edge as well, that I don't start too close to the edge of the field and accidentally plough outside of my little boundary. It's going to be incredibly hard to repair it if I do over there. I'll have to take big chunks of the field out and then put it back in again afterwards. So yeah, we're making some good progress, and then we'll be doing the same over there as well, defining a new field boundary and then filling everything in afterwards. This is the last little bit of this field. I've got a little tidying up to do in a couple of places, but we are essentially done. Let's get that little piece just there. And there we go. Job done. We have ploughed out a really, really good sized field. Just checking the line just there. It's a little bit extreme to go up against the post and stop like that, but we'll see how it runs. I can always smooth that line out a little bit later. And just looking around here, I kind of like what I've done here. That little corner here in the tree is a little bit close to the tree, but I think we can probably get away with that. This edge is pretty decent. We're not too bad over here, but we are a little bit close the post, so again I want to kind of just try and correct that a little bit if I can. I got a little bit carried away. This is going to be a little bit tricky. I'll try and do this just right. Pushing right up against the post here. Just smooth off that corner. Just a touch. And then we've got that little piece just by the rock that we need to get rid of as well. Alright, so I've done everything I can from that angle. I'm going to have to attack it from the other side now. Just carefully roll backwards. There we go. I'll do the same with this little chunk that sticks out just here. I didn't quite get it, but that's close enough, I think. You know what? That is a little bit severe. Let's just roll this out as well. Oops. There we go. Yeah, that looks a little bit cleaner. So we're going to do that little piece by the rock. Oh, and there was this bit by the tree here, wasn't there? Alright, the easiest way for me to do this is just going to be to rip up the whole section and then just replow it. It's going to be the most efficient way of doing this. So just come along like this. There we go. A little bit further away from the tree, not too much further away, but slightly cleaner. And then I've just got that little bit that sticks out over here by the rock, and it's a nothing little bit here, but it's gonna bug me. When we've got a whole clean straight edge like this, that little piece there would have bugged me for an eternity. So we'll just remove that as well. This field is done, so let's cross over the road and let's attack our second sort of grassed out area. I'm still unsure about this. The more I look at this, the more I think it's not gonna work. So I'm gonna need to kind of roll back a touch. Like that. I think that's just going to look better. There we go. Yeah, I'm happier with that. It's going to look a bit weird once the grass starts to grow. There'll be obviously a thin patch there where there's nothing there, but it'll look better than it does, or than it did. So, and we can always stick a tree in there if we need to as well, just to disguise that. So once again, I'm going to do my border trick here, just hiring a worker to make sure that the create fields is turned off. It is good. So I'll run around the edge of this field, and then once that's done, we'll start plotting out a boundary for the field, and then we'll start filling everything else in. So I've kind of mapped out an area of the field, as you can see. You'll see we're bypassing this pond around here. I want to do a little bit better with the reconstruction over here. And I'm still undecided as to whether I want to do anything in that little space there. Probably not. And then around here, again, we could possibly come closer to the path, but I don't know if I really want to. And then over here, well, this is all pretty much okay. I mean, we could go, as I say, we could go a little bit closer. Actually, I think I will go a little bit closer to the path. Just use up a little bit more of this space. Just add an extra kind of width. There we go. I need to stop being afraid of, you know, angled fields and custom shaped fields like this. You know, there's so much of a kind of a mental need to have clean straight edges. It's not the be all and end all. I mean, it helps, but it's certainly not something that's necessary. So now that that's done, All that remains is to start filling this in, so I guess we have a lot more ploughing to go. I'll see you in a little while. Now as I've been sort of running across these two different grass fields and combining them through, this is kind of the mechanic that I've talked about in the past that I really kind of wish we had a bit more of. We had something similar recently on Spectacle Island from Alien Gym, where you have a farm that needs to be tidied up. That's a great mechanic. I love that idea. Great concept. And then you have fields that are overgrown and need to be completely deforested. And while I think that's an interesting concept, for me there's a little bit too much logging involved in that for my personal taste before you can actually get up and running on the farm. But the kind of mechanic I've been talking about in the past is where you have areas of land that you can buy that have no pre-existing, predetermined fields on them, and it's up to you to kind of carve those fields into the landscape. So I think, especially with seasons now, what I'd love to see would be a map where you had areas allocated that you had to buy, just land. So if I just pause for a second and pull up the map, I can kind of better explain what I mean by this. Down here, for example, field 101, this is just a giant grass field. There's nothing on here. It's just grass, but it's native grass. There's no actual field here that's predetermined. We buy this and we get access to this grass and we can start cutting it. But we can't fertilise it, we can't weed it, we can't do anything other than just cut it, because there is no actual field here. It's just a plot of land. If we want to go ahead and put this into a workable field, we have to plough it out and create that field ourselves, and then it's up to us what we plant on it. We either plant grass and keep it as a grass field, but as a workable grass field where we can hire workers and we can fertilise the grass and raise it up a bit in terms of its its crop volume, or we can actually turn it into a crop field. And I think it would be a great concept if we had a map that was just fields like that, areas that were that we had to buy. Oops, don't want to reset. I want to get into that. Areas that we had to buy, and then it was up to us to create the fields on them. So if we wanted to create weird shaped fields like this one, we could do. If we wanted to create just rectangular square fields, we could do. But it would be up to us to decide what we wanted to do with that land. And I'd love to see that concept visualised in a full map where it's nothing but fields like that. There'd be no contract work available, because there would be no fields where you could actually get missions of, because none of those plots of land would actually have fields on them. They would just be grass. I'd love to see that actually put on as a concept onto consoles. I don't know how well it would work, or how popular it would be. I think there's quite a few players that would love to try it. I don't know how mainstream the appeal of something like that would be, but I just think it would be a really great concept where you go in and you have a farm building and you have your sheds and stuff with some basic equipment, but you have just land. You have no actual fields that are ready, and you have to completely carve your land into the ground that A, you own, and B, you additionally purchase. I'd love to see that, I really would, and I hope at some point in the future we do actually get a map that does do that. as we get towards the end of this field here, we still have one more field that we own that we have done nothing with just yet. So we'll probably take a look at that field as well. You see those weird little black sort of distortions? That's actually the ground response mod that's throwing that up. It does that from time to time on some maps. I've noticed this has been something I've seen on and off since that mod first came out, where every now and again you'll see, you know, tire dirt showing up in the weirdest places. You might see it again here as I turn around. There you go, just saw a little bit pop up on that grass there. And if I turn around like this, you might see it on the path. Nope. Well, you'll see it again when we get to the end here. Just keep an eye on the road as we come up towards it. You'll notice a little bit of dirt will just jump up through the through the surface. It's a very strange little phenomenon. I'm not entirely sure what causes it, but it is something that, you know, is indicative with the tyre response or the ground response and tyre dirt mods. There you go, look, see? See it flicking up there. It's normally confined around the wheels, but sometimes it just teleports. It's very, very strange. Okay. So, just this single pass left to go. And I'm pretty happy with this field. I don't think we actually need to do any border redefining at all. I think it's pretty much good to go. So let's take a trip. We are a little low on fuel actually. Let's take a trip into the city. That's something else we don't have, I think, at the farm is a fuel point. So we might need to either invest in a fuel bowser or maybe a placeable static fuel tank is something that we could put in. There are some ways we could do that. There's a Flegel hook lift trailer, which is basically just a barrel for fuel. We could buy one of those and then plonk it down in a set location, and then we could transport fuel from the petrol station to our store, to our farm point, and actually have a depletable supply that we would then have to go and replenish at some point in the future. Might actually look into doing that. I'll have to install the right mod. But we'll top up the tank, and then from here we're going to go and pay a visit to field 86. We'll take a look down there and maybe go straight into ploughing that field out as well. So we're almost in position. You can just see our field coming up in front of us, and I haven't actually seen this field up close yet, so let's take a look. So we've got this great big power mast here. This great big area here with this recessed little dip with some rocks and trees. We've got phone wires there as well. There's a lot of stuff to avoid on this field, but yeah. All right, let's start ploughing this. So once again, I'm going to do my my border. Hire a worker to make sure that I'm not creating a field. And straight away, look, there's a little tuft. So we are going to have that issue in some places by the look of it. I'll border this field, and then once that's done, we'll correct these little edges with a little bit of resculpting on the ends, and then we'll start ploughing it out properly. I've kind of gone around, and as you can see, you can just see I've done a border there. There is still quite a bit of tidying up around those edges and around all those sort of big objects in the middle of the field that needs to be done. But you know, I've been thinking, I kind of had in the back of my head that I had a budget of around 250 to 300,000 of our loan put aside for potential expansion this year, and the more I think about it, the more it makes sense to me to buy these two fields here. We've got field 79 and then field 85 here, and I'd look to keep 79 as a separated field, so this would be a field here, but we could buy 85 and link it in with 86, and that would actually make a really nice shaped and sized field. We'd have to remove excuse me, we'd have to remove a few trees. As you can see, we've got 5 trees that kind of get in the way along there, but these trees down here, we wouldn't touch these. Obviously there's quite this steep bank just here, and it's certainly not something that we could work with. And although we could in theoretically just have an island in the middle of the field and then link them down there, I kind of like the idea of having 79 and 78 79 and 85 separated out with this strip of land. I don't know whether or not to actually just bring the fields around and combine it this way. But in terms of prices, this field here is around about 70, 80,000, 75, 80,000, somewhere in that region. And this field here is about 125,000. So they're within my budget. I could buy both of these two fields. So I think what I'm going to do is, because it's getting on already, it's getting to like 5 o'clock, and we still have other stuff to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the farm. I'm going to jump on the phone with the bank manager, see if I can catch him before the bank closes up, and I'm going to discuss the possibility of extending a line of credit to buy these two fields, and then obviously we've got to get into negotiations with those farmers and see if we can buy the land. What we may well do is do a couple of quick contract jobs on these fields first, just to bring the price down just a touch, and then buy them from him. So we're going to end the episode here as I head back to the farm to go and speak with the bank manager. Luckily I have a private number for him, so I should be able to get in touch with him. But yeah, that's kind of what the plan is for now. So I'll get in touch with the bank manager. We'll arrange some financing. We'll get in contact with those farmers about potentially buying their fields, and we'll expand our land over there next time out. So thanks for watching. I am Jim Bob, and I'll see you back on Gorala with some more Deutz Fahrm very soon.